What if the richest king in human history didn't build his empire by chasing wealth, but by asking for something completely different? What if he knew a secret that most billionaires today still haven't figured out? 3,000 years ago, a young king named Solomon inherited a kingdom, and instead of asking God for riches, for power, for dominion, he asked for one thing: wisdom. And in that moment, in that single decision, he unlocked a law that transformed him from a regular king into a legendary king, whose wealth became a second-hand consequence of his primary pursuit. Here's what will blow your mind. Solomon didn't build his wealth through luck. He didn't stumble into success. He built it through understanding the psychology of abundance. He surrounded himself with the greatest minds on earth. He visualized his kingdom into existence before his hands ever laid a single stone. He reprogrammed his subconscious mind to operate on the frequency of certainty while everyone else was paralyzed by doubt. And he moved, even when he wasn't ready, even when he was afraid, even when the outcome wasn't guaranteed. In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal the exact psychological principles that Solomon used to build the most legendary empire the world has ever seen. And these aren't ancient secrets locked away from modern people. They're the same principles that billionaires use today. They're the same principles that create champions, that transform ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why Solomon's first instinct, to ask for wisdom instead of wealth, is the same instinct that separates people who build dynasties from people who build nothing. Stay with me. What if I told you that one man's choice, a single decision made thousands of years ago, holds the blueprint to everything you're trying to build right now? What if the answers to your financial struggles, your relationship challenges, your health crises, and your spiritual emptiness are all encrypted in one ancient story that nobody's really paying attention to? There was a young king named Solomon who inherited an empire. And instead of asking God for the things everyone else wanted, he asked for something that literally changed the trajectory of human civilization. He asked for wisdom. That moment, that decision, activated a law so powerful that it transformed a good kingdom into the most legendary empire the world has ever seen. Here's what most people get wrong. They think Solomon's wealth was the goal. Wrong. His wisdom was the goal, and wealth became the inevitable consequence. This is the principle that separates the people who keep chasing money from the people who build dynasties. When you pursue wisdom over wealth, your mind begins operating on a frequency that attracts opportunities, people, and circumstances that multiply your value exponentially. Solomon didn't sit in a palace counting gold. He was constantly learning, constantly expanding his consciousness, constantly asking better questions. This mental posture, this orientation toward growth, created a magnetic field around him. The greatest minds of his era wanted to sit with him. The wealthiest traders wanted to do business with him. Kings wanted to learn from him. Why? Because wisdom is the only currency that actually appreciates. Your brain is programmed to move toward whatever you focus on. If you focus on bills, your mind finds evidence of scarcity. If you focus on wisdom, your mind finds pathways to abundance. Solomon programmed his reticular activating system to filter for knowledge, for insights, for patterns that others missed. He surrounded himself with people who challenged him, who knew more than him, who forced his thinking to evolve. This is the mastermind principle that literally changes brain chemistry. When you're in the presence of people operating at a higher frequency than you, your neurons fire differently. You think thoughts you wouldn't have thought alone. You see solutions you couldn't have seen in isolation. But here's the shocking part that most motivational content won't tell you. Solomon wasn't just thinking about success, he was feeling himself already successful. He had already lived out his greatness in his mind before his hands built a single temple. He visualized with such clarity that his subconscious mind couldn't distinguish between visualization and reality. So his body automatically moved toward the outcome his mind had already experienced. This is the manifestation secret wrapped in ancient wisdom. Your subconscious mind is like a computer running code that was written years ago by your environment, your parents, your beliefs. Solomon rewrote his code. He deleted the files labeled fear, doubt, limitation, and replaced them with files labeled certainty, wisdom, dominion. Most people wait until they feel ready to act. Solomon understood something different. Action is what creates the feeling. He moved first, and the confidence followed. He built despite doubt. He decided despite uncertainty. He progressed despite opposition. This warrior's mindset, this willingness to move without perfect information, is what separates ordinary achievers from legendary creators. The only real failure is the failure to try. Everything else is just information. And here's the final secret that will transform your entire life. One quality, absolutely mastered and multiplied across every domain of your existence, becomes a kingdom. Solomon didn't try to be good at everything. He focused on wisdom. Then he applied that wisdom to finances, relationships, politics, spirituality, architecture, military strategy, diplomacy. That single focus multiplied into absolute dominion. You don't need to be great at 10 things. You need to take one thing to such a level of mastery that it becomes the foundation of everything else. Your talent multiplied is more powerful than 10 talents divided. Wisdom without action is just philosophy. Wisdom with action is dominion. Solomon didn't just think, he did. He built temples while doubters questioned. He made bold trade agreements while fearful merchants hesitated. This is the crucial difference between dreamers and kings. Every action Solomon took was informed by his wisdom, but every action was still an act of courage. He moved before he was completely ready, because he understood a law that paralyzes most people, the law of incomplete information. No one ever has 100% certainty. Solomon moved with 70% information and 100% faith. His willingness to act despite uncertainty, despite potential failure, is what separated him from every other wise man who never built anything. Fear is the price of admission to greatness. You must be willing to move forward even when your knees shake. What if everything you needed to become a king was already within you, just waiting to be multiplied? Solomon took his single gift, wisdom, and multiplied it across every domain of his life. Financial wisdom multiplied his wealth. Diplomatic wisdom multiplied his influence. Military wisdom multiplied his power. Architectural wisdom multiplied his legacy. One quality, endlessly multiplied, became an empire. This is the secret most people never see. You don't need 10 talents to become exceptional. You need one talent taken to absolute mastery and then multiplied across every area of your life. Focus becomes the rare superpower in a world of distraction. Solomon's undivided focus on wisdom as his primary goal created a domino effect of success across every secondary goal. When Solomon asked God not for riches but for wisdom, he triggered a psychological principle that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. This isn't about humility. It's about understanding the deeper law of attraction that operates through the human mind. Solomon knew something that most people never discover. When you align your deepest desire with purpose, rather than greed, the universe conspires to deliver everything else you actually need. This is the exact principle that separates billionaires from broke people. The moment you shift from, "I want money," to, "I want the wisdom to create wealth," your brain activates different neural pathways. Your reticular activating system begins filtering opportunities that were always there but invisible to you. Solomon's wisdom became his magnet because wisdom is the foundation of all lasting prosperity. Solomon built the most powerful nation not by working alone, but by assembling the greatest minds of his era. This is the mastermind principle. Two or more minds in perfect harmony create a third mind that's infinitely more powerful. Solomon's advisors, his philosophers, his warriors, they formed a collective consciousness. When you're surrounded by people who think bigger than you, your mind is forced to expand. This is why loneliness destroys dreams while community creates empires. Solomon understood that his knowledge multiplied exponentially through shared intelligence. Every conversation became a brainstorming session that created solutions no individual could generate alone. Most people fail because they're the smartest person in their room. Successful people fail upward because they're always the least educated person in their circle. This single shift changes everything. What if the real secret to Solomon's wealth wasn't luck, but a mental architecture he built in his consciousness? Solomon didn't just think about success. He visualized the smallest details of his kingdom's operations. He could see problems before they existed. He could predict market movements before they happened. This is the power of mental imagery that most people dismiss as fantasy, but which is actually the blueprint of reality. Every building in Solomon's kingdom existed first in his mind. Every trade deal was won before negotiations began because he saw every angle, every resistance, every solution. His mind operated like a movie projector, showing him future outcomes. Then he simply moved his body to match the vision his mind had already created. Your external world is a perfect replica of your internal world. Change your mind's architecture, and you change your destiny. The wisdom of Solomon wasn't supernatural. It was psychological. It was the perfect application of natural laws that are available to you right now. It's the law of focus, the law of intention, the law of action, the law of growth. Solomon asked for wisdom, and in asking, he proved that he already possessed it. He understood that the quality you seek is the quality you already contain. Success isn't something you chase, it's something you become. And becoming starts with a decision. What will you decide about yourself today? I want to say thank you for joining me on this journey into the wisdom of the ages. Remember, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be willing to grow, to learn, to expand beyond the limitations you've accepted about yourself. The greatest king in human history built his empire on wisdom, not on luck. And wisdom is something every single one of us can develop. Go forward with the knowledge that you're carrying the same potential that Solomon carried. Your kingdom is waiting to be built. All you have to do is ask for wisdom and have the courage to act on it. I believe in you. Now go build something legendary. Good luck!